Shemo Yachdav. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtakavu lehakodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtakavu lehakodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtakavu lehakodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtakavu lehakodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtakavu lehakodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtakavu lehakodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu.
You may be seated. So our Torah reading this morning is from back in Kitisa, back in Exodus. And the maftir is actually from the Torah portion, Pinchas, which is towards the end of the book of Numbers. Hence, 2 Torahs. This is why congregations often have 2 Torahs for days exactly like today, when you need to go from one section in the Torah to another one that is at least a book away. So this is why we have 2 Torahs. So we're going to take a moment, very briefly, to talk a little bit about, maybe would you pass these out? About something from Pesach. So as Lee is passing this out, I'll start with the text that's on the top of the page in the Hebrew. Halach ma anya di achalu. You might recognize this from the Seder. Av hatana ve'arar de Mizraim. Kol dichfin yete v'yelchol. Kol ditzrich yete v'yifsach. Hashata hacha l'shana haba'a be'ar'a di Yisrael. Hashata avdei l'shana haba'a b'nei chorin. And somebody who has it, if you would please read for us the translation. Here, Joan.
Okay, Deuteronomy 16:3.
No, start here, this right
sorry.
here. Yeah.
This is the bread of destitution or affliction that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Anyone who is famished should come and eat. Anyone who is in need should come and partake of the Pesach sacrifice. Now we are here. Next year we will be in the land of Israel. This year we are slaves. Next year we will be free people.
Great. So without sort of looking ahead on the page, what is this text that we read in our Haggadah? What is this text telling us? Seder's open to everybody, to anybody who is in need, anyone who is hungry. What else?
That we'll all be in Israel next year.
We'll all be in Israel next year. And we'll be free. Okay. So the commandment to eat unleavened bread is first found in the story of the Exodus and then repeated in the book of Deuteronomy, none of which we are reading today, by the way. But can I have a volunteer to read Deuteronomy 16:3 or so?
You shall not eat anything leavened with it. For 7 days thereafter you shall eat unleavened bread, bread of distress. For you departed from the land of Egypt hurriedly, so that you may remember the day of your departure from the land of Egypt as long as you live.
Okay. So here's the commandment now for eating unleavened bread. We know they mention it, of course, in the story of Exodus because they didn't have time for the dough to rise as they fled Egypt. Last night we talked about the idea of when the Exodus is recited and why it's recited actually twice a day. We recite it both in the morning and in the evening, reminding us ourselves of that. And one thing the rabbi said was because we were, the 10th plague happened in the evening, so we had a little time to prepare there, and then we fled in the morning. So by having those 2 times of day, we remember the Exodus, according to the rabbis, both in the morning and in the evening Shema. And that's in the Geula prayer, the Michamocha that we recited this morning. So, all right, the Mishnah Torah adds to this text. Barbara, you were reading before, or raising your hand before.
Okay. We left Egypt in a frenzy. This is the bread of poverty that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Anyone who is famished should come and eat. Anyone who is in need to have the Passover sacrifice should come and partake of the Passover sacrifice. Now we are here. Next year we will be in the land of Israel. This year we are slaves. The year that is coming, we will be free people.
Okay, thoughts on this text? Okay, so that we're continually being slaves, and we relive that every year through the Passover story. Did I paraphrase that correctly? And remember that that's actually what Passover is. Passover is the retelling of the story every year. And as we talked last night also, that every year when we retell the story, we're supposed to learn something new or gain something new out of it. But we are supposed to be as if we were slaves to experience that, to understand that. Okay, other thoughts from this text? Barbara.
I think that as we go along in our lives, there are things that we manage to overcome, we hope. And so we're in Mitzrayim until we're not in Mitzrayim. If we overcome them, then we've made it out.
Beautiful thought. Okay, that we're constant. I'm repeating it just a little for the. Oh, and I didn't give you the microphone, but I'm repeating it for those online. That we were, as we are going through trials, sometimes that at that moment in time we are in Mitzrayim, we are in the desert in Egypt until we overcome them, and then at that point we're free. Okay, Linda.
Then
We need to share. Beautiful.
Yeah, it says anyone who is in need. It doesn't necessarily say who. So we are always in a community of people that we should think of others, regardless of slave or not. But
Right.
anyone who is in need.
Right. And the text that we talked about last night, and I see your hand, Ruth, talked about the ger, the stranger. That one of the most important concepts that we find throughout the Torah is the welcoming of the stranger. So welcoming anyone to our table. Yes, Ruth.
I think it's interesting. We're supposed to invite others. If we think of Abraham, who opened up his tent, he offered his best halves and his most wonderful foods in his home. But here, we're offering bread of affliction.
Interesting, huh? Right. At that moment in time, that's all we had. So isn't the idea that maybe the idea is that we're still feeding them, we're still welcoming them, even when we have so little, we still give them, we still feed the stranger. Yes, Shell.
And in today's world, there are many kinds of slavery. It doesn't have to be making bricks out of straw. You could be a slave to greed, or you could be a slave to gathering items that we don't really need, or not sharing with others.
Right. So, and that's that's the modern interpretation that I often give of the Michamocha or the Geula, the redemption, is that while we are not physically slaves in Egypt anymore, there are still people who are slaves today. There is slavery, unfortunately, still in the world. And there are other things that we're slaves to, more modern ideas. And so every time we say the Michamocha and the Geulah, the prayer of redemption, we're reminding ourselves of that. So, other thoughts? Okay, this is the last little text here. I said short this morning. So, who would like to read from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs? Diane.
This is a strange invitation. This is the bread of oppression our fathers ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come in and eat. What hospitality is it to offer the hungry the taste of suffering? In fact, though, this is a profound insight into the nature of slavery and freedom. As noted, matzah represents two things. It is the food of slaves and also the bread eaten by the Israelites as they left Egypt in liberty. What transforms the bread of oppression into the bread of freedom is the willingness to share it with others.
So that goes back, Ruth, to what you were saying, right? That idea that even if we can't give them our best, by the fact that we're opening our door and feeding them, that changes the type of bread that we're eating. All right, I'll share with us this last paragraph, which is still from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. Sharing food is the first act through which slaves become free human beings. One who fears tomorrow does not offer his bread to others, but one who is willing to divide his food with a stranger has already shown himself to be capable of fellowship and faith, the two things from which hope is born. This is why we begin the Seder by inviting others to join us. Bread shared is no longer the bread of oppression. Reaching out to others, giving help to the needy, and companionship to those who are alone, we bring freedom into the world, and with freedom, God. So thoughts on that text? Oh, here, explain a little. Here, we'll let you.
Using the noun versus the adjective, and how is that is being a slave the defining quality, or is being enslaved what's causing the action? And how we use that, change that term for lots of histories. Do we consider that for this history as well?
Interesting. Nice. Other thoughts? And it's interesting because what I thought of when you said that is that sometimes they say sometimes people who have been held captive or people who have been slaves, it takes them a long time to get out of that mentality. So in essence, while they're no physically being slave, they are enslaved at that point within themselves. Yes, Ruth.
I think, it makes me think of the teaching from, I forget his name, he wrote the book, he was in Auschwitz, or...
Elie Wiesel?
No.
Emil...
Viktor Frankl, right, where he said no matter where you are, you show your humanity. You have some dignity if you make choices, and the choice can be to share or to show caring. And that he wrote that from his experience was, I think, just amazing.
Right, and there were stories out of the Shoah, out of the Holocaust, in which there were people who, they only were given so much rations a day, and if there was somebody who was more sickly than them, they would share their food with them, even though they themselves might have needed it. So, Judy.
I think it just harmonizes with what you're saying, that we are expressing the divine when we're stepping outside of our hungry selves and saying, I want you to have this. That's an elevated way of being. And so it's a choice that we're making, and it's also sharing our divine intention with someone else, and would hope that would also help reflect the divine in them too. So, and I was actually listening to Rabbi Sachs this morning on a podcast, and he was talking about the idea of freedom and how choice is a fundamental aspect of freedom. Nice. So similar to what you said.
And in my own musings, as I read this text, one of the things that I said is that we're treating others, each other as being in the image of God. Okay, we're all in the image of God, B'Tselem Elohim, and therefore how we want to be treated and how we treat others is all reflective of that.
Yeah, having come from, having finally started emerging from my slavery, it's taken me a long time to do it, but I'm getting a lot better at it. I was telling Devorah a couple weeks ago about everything that is I'm doing, and she's going, "Hi." She said, "Joan, you're back." I've started to volunteer and taking classes and looking for other various things to do. So, when you were reading it as being enslaved, then I was thinking about where it is that I've come from and how far it is that I've come so far. I know I have further to go, but I definitely have more good days than bad days. So
Nice. Thank you for sharing. And it's sort of like the image that popped in my head a little there, Joan, was the idea of Nakshon. They got to the edge of the water. I used this imagery also last night too. But they got to the edge of the water, and one person had to take the step because they were all there. And until someone was brave enough to take that step, they were just stuck. All they were there was in front of water. So until we're ready to take that step, and sometimes it takes us a while, but when we're ready to take that step, we do that. And there's that saying, we take one step forward and sometimes we take 2 steps back, especially in regards to recovery. It's very true, but we keep taking a step forward, and every time we're able to take a step further, we get a little bit farther and farther. Yes, Diana.
So the one thing that occurs to me as I read through this second paragraph is that until we're able to become capable of fellowship and faith, and in this context it means faith that there will be more bread tomorrow, and that is an expression of God. God is no longer in the abstract. He is in the manifest. And for those that struggle with that, and I know I have many times in my life, is God abstract or is he manifest? And he's only manifest through others, through community, through fellowship. And I think this is where the world needs, frankly, a faith, and in my particular case, Judaism, that can show that to other people. That's where God lives, really, in us. So I appreciate the concept there.
Nice, beautiful. Other thoughts? So beautiful. I thank you all for sharing. I hope you all had wonderful seders. Some of us are continuing seders because we know that seders happened over the weekend for families and so forth, and Chavurot. But we're going to continue this morning with our Torah reading, which is specifically for Passover. I'm going to bring this back over here. Our first Torah reading can be found on page, so this is in the larger book, which is the Chumash, and it can be found on page 657. We're back in Ki Tisa, beginning with verse 12. Ta'amod le'Shoshana bat Avraham v'Sarah harishon. For our first Aliyah, we have Leah Brunning's coming up. Leah's daughter will become bat mitzvah in 2 weeks. And I had started this tradition of having the bar and bat mitzvah families come the week before. But next Saturday, we actually have an Ofra at the first Aliyah, so that'll be very exciting. So we're glad that Leah could come and join us this morning. All right, let me show you where we are.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. This is where a bigger table would be great. Could you just hold that, please? Thank you. Amen. I'm going to make sure I'm on because evidently I've been having trouble. Yeah. Amen. Vayomer Moshe el Adonai re'eh atah omer elai ha'al et ha'am hazeh ve'ata lo hodatani et asher tishlach imi ve'ata amarta yedaticha v'shem וגם מצאת חן בעיניי, ואתה אם מצאתי חן בעיניך, הודיעני נא את דרכיך ואדע למען אמצא חן בעיניך, וראה כי עמך הגוי הזה. ויאמר פני אליך וחניכותי לך, ויאמר אליו אם אין פניך הולכים אל תעלנו מזה. ובמה יוודע איפה כי מצאתי חן בעיניך אני ועמך, הלא בלכתך עמנו ונפלינו אני ועמך מכל העם אשר על פני האדמה. Here, so take the corner of your telly together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yeshua. We're going to have you go over this side. And somewhere here. Ta'amdu Rachelea bat Aharon udevora hasheni. We're going to start with verse 17. The second Aliyah has verses 17 through 19. Chapter 33 again. Which is right there.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaMavarach.
Baruch Adonai HaMavarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMavarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. ויאמר אדוני אל משה גם את הדבר הזה אשר דיברת אעשה, כי מצאת חן בעיני ואדעך בשם. ויאמר הראיני נא את כבודך. ויאמר אני אעביר כל טובי על פניך, וקראתי בשם אדוני לפניך, וחנותי את אשר אחון, וריחמתי את אשר ארחם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you. You get to go sit down. And for our third aliyah, Ta'amod Chana Bat Miriam Hashlishi. It's okay. We'll wait. Thank you. I was just thinking about that. The third aliyah is going to be verses, chapter 33 again, verses 20 through 23.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayomer lo tuchal lirot et panai ki lo yirani ha'adam v'chai. Vayomer Adonai hine makom iti v'nitzavta al hatzur v'haya ba'avor kivoti v'samticha b'nikrat hatzur V'sachoti chapi alecha ad ovri v'hasiroti et kapi v'ra'iti et achorai ufanai lo yera'u.
Hold on to the table. Oops, upside down. So I'm gonna do it. Can I stand on my head and do it? Yeah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaya olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yisher koach.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to have you go to that side and then stand out of the way as we. Do you want me to bring you a chair?
No, it's not.
Okay.
If I have to, I'll sit on the bench.
Okay. All right, so Ya'amdu Hangmabi v'hagolelet Ya'amud Liron ben Avraham v'Sarah. We're going to rise as this Torah is lifted. Bezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai B'yad Moshe. I'm going to go to a chair.
Okay.
Bezot HaTorah Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Al Pi Adonai B'yad Moshe. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la. Other way, other way. La 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 may be seated. So for the fourth aliyah, beautiful. For the fourth aliyah, we want to invite up anybody who would like to recite a mishaberach, either for themselves or on behalf of somebody. So come on up. Okay, and then I will tell you. So the maftir for today, as I said, is found in the book of Numbers. It is chapter 28, verse 19. Let me double check that. Yes, so it is on page 1211. If you look at the left-hand column of Hebrew, it's the second word in on the third line to really help you out. So, close that. And you guys can come over here. I will show you where we are. Give me a second. It took me a minute to find this last time. There it is. It's right here. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. V'yikraftem Ishe Ola Ladonai Varim B'nei Bakar Shnayim Ve'ayil Echad V'shiva Kevasim B'nei Shana Timimim Yiyu Lachem Uminchatam Solet Belula B'Shemen Shlosha Esronim Lapar Ushne Esronim La'ayil Ta'asu Isaron Ta'aseh La'keves Ha'echad V'shiv'at Ha'kevasim Use'ir Chatat Echad Lechaper Alechem Milvad Olat Habakar Asher Leolat Hatamid Ta'asu et ele Ke'ele Ta'asu Layom Shivat Yamim Lechem Ishe Reach Nichoach Ladonai Al Olat Hatamid Ya'aseh V'nizko Uvayom Hashvi Mikra Kodesh Yeh Lachem Ko Melechet Avodah Lo Ta'asu.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Demet V'chayei Olam Notav B'Tocheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen. So we offer a mishaberach for all of those who came up to the Torah. Blessings upon all of you. And we also take this moment to say a blessing for healing. Mishaberach Avotenu V'imotenu Avraham Yitzhak V'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yivarech et HaCholim.
Gittel Bat Devorah.
Franklin Wolfson.
Myself.
Bruce Robert, Stuart Mass, Elfreda Massman, Diane Siegel, Jill Becker, Gail Frankel, Scott Van Gundy, Daphne Talmor, Mira Engel, Dave Stahl, Greg Herb, Murray Siegel, Ron Victor, Sherry Stone, Marvin Lombard, Laura Sternberg, Richard Ravitch, former member of Shir Hadash, Bernice Paris, mother of Carol Paris, Franklin Wolfson, son-in-law of Susan Deniston, Lillian Sidlow, mother of Beth Sidlo Mann and mother-in-law of Andrew Mann. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, and let us say, Amen. And we say, Ya'amdu, Hagma bi'aha v'golelet. Yeah, please rise as the Torah is lifted. I need to call myself up. Let's see how well I do this. Go, Deborah. V'zot Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. You keep singing. Allie, come on. V'zot Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai. It's here somewhere. Lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai. Thank you. Lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. We remain standing as we return towards the ark, page 374. Eitz chaim hi, lama chazikim ba, v'tomecheha meushar. Derachecha darchei noam v'chonetivottecha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Hadash yameinu kekedem. Aleinu is found on page 587. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, l'ateit g'dula li'otzeh b'reshit, shehu sam chelkeinu li'ached et shemo, v'gor aleinu lehamlich malchuto, v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo 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 echad. You may be seated. If you are in the first 7 days of mourning, Shiva, please rise and share with us who you are remembering. If you are in the first 30 days of mourning, Shloshim, please rise and share with us who you are remembering. If you are in the cycle of the first year of mourning, please rise and share with us who you are remembering.
This is the other one. This is my mic, not the guitar mic. So I just lost battery on
If you have a yortzeit this week, an anniversary of someone's passing, please rise and share with us who you are remembering. Stephen Bornstein, Richard Kennemer, Ethel Schenker, Varda Satchi, Rabbi Tlalit Shavit, Jack Long, Virginia Larson, PhD, Miriam Marr, Bob Sturman, Lenora Wang, Adam Richard Spilka, Shlomo Isips, Howard Levine, Barbara Lombard, Claire London, Drago Herman, Merle Greenwald, Samuel Grinwald, Anita Cumula, Bryce Lyon, Edna Stone, Miriam Davis, Lauren Janovich, Janet Wool, Charlene Kilgore, Ezra Satit Satchi, Gideon Hoffer, Alvin Kramer Siegel, Vlasta Vejanovich, Galina Buturina, Karen Imbalzano, Lillian Berman, Robert Bruce Myers, Abraham Karras, Scott Safadi, Norman Green, Marilyn Silverman, Leslie Heinal, David Green, Jeannie Porish, Estelle Abrams, Spencer Caney, Arthur Cherdak, John Ivers, Marilyn Handelman, Kay Dameron, Nira Marome, Andrea Cameron, Ziba Feruzin, Rosella Newton, Linda Sherry, Fred DeCastro, Sherry Skihan, Larry Eisen, Harry Gross, Michael Taub, Alan Franco, Barnett Rogers, Ella Goldberg, Georgia Clark, Jeanette Barrett, Lido Scardigli, Mary Alice Forster, Musa Suluki, Muriel Bikoff, Phyllis Bale, Rita Lube, Susan Foncel, Tirsa Ginsburg, William Bone. And now you can support our community by standing or sitting, joining us with your voices or your hearts for Kaddish Avilim, the Mourner's Kaddish, on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei techol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'l'omei amaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudusha b'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the memories of your dear ones always be a blessing in your life and to all of your loved ones. Yehei zichram baruch. You may be seated. I have just a few announcements. Actually, there are quite a lot because there's a lot going on right now. So, everything that I'm about to share with you is also found on our website and on our website calendar, and most of it we encourage you to please register for. On Wednesday, April 12th, just a notification that the office and the ECC will be closed for Passover, but you can join us on Wednesday early evening at 6 p.m. That's April 12th for our 11 Up service and breaking bread. We'll also be reciting Yizkor at this service. Please register on our website. Sunday, April 16th at 3 p.m., we invite all ages to join us for Tea Time with a Twist. There's more of a description on the website there as well. Register there. Monday, April 17th at 7 o'clock p.m., we have our Community Yom HaShoah Memorial Service. That's at Temple Emmanuel this year. Tuesday, April 25th from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m., Israel 75 celebration at the APJCC. Go to the website for registration details. On Wednesday, April 26th at 7 p.m., Professor Mark Dollinger from San Francisco State University will speak about Jews, whiteness, power, and privilege. Again, register on the website. Hold the date for Friday and Saturday, May 6th and 7th for Rabbi Nico's installation, and Saturday and Sunday, May 20th and 21st for Rabbi Schwartz's celebration weekend. We're jokingly saying his de-installation, but we say that with all love to Rabbi Schwartz. And he said it himself. He's being de-installed, right? Okay, and lastly, on Sunday, April 30th at 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., the Bay Area Israel at 75 celebrations. Kulanu is having some special programming to accommodate this event, which is up the peninsula. Please check our calendar page for more information. And our closing song will be Ein Adir for the holiday. That is found on page 632. Please rise and join us.
Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Ein Nadir Kadonai, Ben Baruch Ben Amran. Ein Gedolat HaTorah, Ve'en Dashanecha Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Ein Hadur Kadonai, Ve'en Vatik Ben Amran. Ein Zaka KaTorah, Ve'en Chachamecha Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Ein Tahor Kadonai, Ve'en Yachid Keven Amran. Ein Kabira KaTorah, Ve'en Lachdanecha Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Ein Podek Adonai, Ve'en Tzadik Ben Amran. Ein Kiddushah KaTorah, Ve'en Tomachecha Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Mipiel, Mipiel, Yevorach Kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Please join us in the lobby for Motzi and Kiddush. Yes, is matzah.
Yeah.